My name's Alysha Galbreath. I started shooting in 2003. It's a career I really kind of stumbled into. I started out thinking I wanted to be on screen and then a costume designer. And then I came across night school that introduced me to camera work. And I thought, well, this is great. I just like being in camera. But it was more television news focused. And then as my career developed, I realized that there was more to it, that I could add the technical side that I really loved of the camera operation. And then there was the art side of light and lensing. And when I realized that those two things could come together, I was so happy. I began working in TV news in the control room and then shooting cooking shows for the 5 o'clock news. And then I moved to becoming a videographer in Northeast BC, and I spent 3 years being a one-woman show doing that sort of thing. And then where did I go from there? I went back to Calgary, and I became a staff ENG for kind of news magazine style shows. And then I moved to Toronto and I became immersed in the sports world and sports doc and live sports. And now I'm moving more into doc and narrative work. So I guess I've always shot. I've always liked to look at the world through a lens because I think you can manipulate the story. You can create emotion in the people who are watching it. And when I'm really committed to a project, the first thing I see are the cuts I would like to see. So how is that extreme wide shot going to play with a tight shot? And how can we really make people feel what we want them to feel? I think when the ship is on fire, as it sometimes tends to be in production, I'm always calm. I love troubleshooting and problem solving. And if we need to rework a situation to make it work based on whatever is in front of us, then I'm really good at that. Kind of scrapping the plan, starting again, and getting it done in a way that makes everybody generally happy as well. My major role on set is largely collaborative. I think it's really important that we, as DPs, no matter what the project is, if it's a doc, a narrative, even corporate, that we're working with the people with the money and the people with the creative vision, and we're sort of, and the technicians, and we're sort of that perfect middle person, I think, who can steer the decisions in a way that everybody can get behind. My job is the perfect merging of making really beautiful images with the technical know-how to get it done. And it's so satisfying to split your brain right in half and use the best of both sides. My biggest struggle is imposter syndrome. Am I good enough to be doing this? Do I know enough? Has my experience given me the right to be in this position that I really hold in high regard? What also feeds that is, as a woman, it's very difficult to be in this industry as a cinematographer that's still very much a boys' club, where we still get ignored at trade shows. We still get told our work is pretty and not. It's very rare that I think I get evaluated on the same plane as a man simply because I am a woman. And so feeling like that just permeates. It can be a very isolating position to be in because you want to be one of the guys in terms of let's all just work together and have that camaraderie, but you're always seen as different. And you just figure, like, what am I doing? Why can't I kind of break through here? Yeah, they're standing back and waiting for me to prove myself. And I do, again and again, but it has to happen a number of times before they recognize you as part of the team. And that can be difficult. One of the main things that I think stops women from becoming cinematographers is access to gear, encouragement to play with gear, to really get into the menus, play with lenses, and then the environments that we're working in is the third, and maybe the most important. It's hard to go to work every day when you don't feel like you belong. And when you're part of a unit like a camera department and you're this single standout, it's not like you go to hang out with the camera department and then you can go hang out with the other departments, because they have their own cliques and their own situations happening. So I think when other women are thinking about getting into it, there's that's a real consideration. What do I want my day-to-day life to be like at work? And it's probably not that. It's not being the odd person out. I've thought a lot about, what if I did have children? And the single answer is that I could not work the way that I work now. I just don't see a solution there. So for me to upend my whole life and the things that I really love about it now, which is a lot of work and creative work that's fulfilling, to totally flip my life over to be a mom, I personally don't see how that is a solvable problem in my life. I know that people are doing it. Rachel Morrison and Reed Morano are awesome examples of how you can balance it, but you need to achieve a certain amount of success before you can have that luxury, I think. The advice that I wish that I had been given at the beginning of my career was that my peers will probably always be my peers. Networking is incredibly important. A lot, kind of for the same reason of number one. And that don't be afraid to be bad. Don't be afraid to try things. This is the time to experiment and to make something terrible, hopefully not at the cost of a client, but to really learn how to dig in and trust some of those instincts that you have. A creative eye. And I know that that's probably something everybody says, but when I commit to a project and it's a project I'm really invested in, the first thing that happens is I see a sequence of shots. I see the color profiles that I would like to see, which of course in conversation with director can change, but in collaboration, I'm not interested in the ego of it. I'm interested in creating a project that everyone's proud to be on, and that is true to the story that we're telling. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned in my career is to trust myself. When you want to do a weirdo shot that doesn't maybe make sense to somebody else and you can push for it and it actually is magic in the edit, that's one of those moments where you kind of go, yeah, you know what, I am happy doing this. I'm meant to do this. When you're shooting a lot and you've had like a really busy summer and then all of a sudden everything's just clicking and you know which. I was on kind of a lifestyle show, and so we were running around run and gun style doing doc work, and at every shot I had the right lens on, and you get into that groove and you get into the groove of instinctually knowing when you need what lens, where you need to be to just get that shot that you know you're after. And when you get it, it's just like, yes. The absolute highlight of my career this far happened this summer when I was signed on to do a series of 6 short documentaries where the director and I had complete creative control, and our single directive was to tell stories about people, which was my dream job. And so we got to go out and tell important stories of these people's lives, and in turn we made 6 new friends in doing so. It was great. 12 years ago when I was getting started, I couldn't picture being where I am now. It was just totally outside of my conception. But yeah, I couldn't picture it. This is an actual dream living. As a working cinematographer, it's more than I expected I could achieve. Some of the changes I would like to see in the industry: more female crews, more people of color, technicians, crews, directors, producers. I want more stories from more perspectives. I know as a woman, I'm tired of men telling me what the experience of a woman is in any kind of doc, narrative, project. I want to hear the voices of the people who are living that experience. And I want to walk on set and see diversity. I want to use the problem-solving skills that other people bring to the table. Shooting using other people's experiences and ideas that are entirely outside your realm of what you would have done, that's when you start to get into really beautiful spaces in terms of storytelling. Another change I'd like to see in the industry is more room for open learning, on set, off set. If you have a question, don't be afraid to go to somebody for the answer who might be above you, and don't be afraid of the optics of asking for help. I think that can be a difficult hurdle to overcome, especially as a woman. If you're asking questions as a woman, it isn't always perceived as learning. It's perceived as you don't know what you're doing. So many. I have a ton of different projects I'd still like to tackle. I'd like to move into feature-length documentaries rather than mostly shorts that I've been working on. I'd love to move into the narrative space in any kind of form. I've web series, shorts, features, all of it. I love sitting down and composing a shot and getting the lights in place and doing it the way that my brain saw it initially. That's what really excites me. So there's a lot to still tackle, and I think we'll get there. I have two. I would love to work with Greta Gerwig and the Duplass brothers. But anytime that I get to work with somebody that I can learn from and have an open, collaborative, judgment-free working experience, that is gold. I'm grateful for the spaces that are opening up for women on the crew side, within organizations like the CSC, where we can start living in less isolation, where we can start to feel the community of support that I think comes with being a man in the industry on some level. What I really want is camaraderie. I want a community of people that I can use as resources and who can use me as a resource. And I mean, we all do the same thing, so we're all wired a little bit the same way. So I think that there's something to be learned and appreciated. I mean, I love what I do. And it's funny when you're talking to, when you're talking about being a woman in the industry, it can be a very divisive subject, because we do what we do because we love it. And then we do what we do in spite of having to put up with some garbage that comes our way. I just want it to be known that we love it. We love it for the same reason we want to go to work and enjoy it. The more visible we are and the more inclusive we are, we're just creating a good space for everybody to come to work, do the best they can, and they get to live their best life. And it doesn't really get better than that, I think.